Ex-employees of Diddy are breaking their silence and revealing a toxic nightmare of a workplace while also seemingly implying of a big cover-up. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and Diddygate continues here on Popcorn Planet. The latest coming in from a Daily Beast expose that we're going to break down right here. Blood, threats, and tears inside Diddy's nightmare workplace, a culture of fear. I've compiled the best parts of this article. It is pretty revealing, but what took me the most was not only the specific examples, but the implications later on that we're going to get to, implying that certain women of charge clearly must be involved or knew of more involvement and were covering up for their own gain. Let's get to that in a minute. First, let's go through this first employee. There were 5 employees interviewed in this piece. This one female, Sean John, ex-employee, shared a harrowing account about time Combs grabbed her face following a disagreement about a creative decision. He didn't like that I wasn't agreeing with him, and he wasn't interested in hearing my point of view, the former employee recalled. Instead, Combs allegedly began to yell and compared himself to a renowned fashion designer. "When you speak to me, you should imagine that you're talking to Karl Lagerfeld," she recalled Combs telling her. "Anything I say, assume that it's coming from Karl Lagerfeld." At that point, I didn't have a response to that. As he reaches out and grabs my face, she says, he puts my one hand on both sides of my cheeks and says, "Stick out your tongue." He then squeezes my face harder and yells at me to stick out my tongue, forces his hand on my face. She recounted how Combs then told her he just wanted to see her if her tongue was bleeding because she was clearly biting it. I started looking for a job immediately after that moment. I just wasn't interested in being there to deal with that kind of treatment. You have to really idolize him and see him as an icon. I didn't. I was just there to do my job. How sad that it's like, yeah, well, this could be justified if you really are obsessed with Diddy. This kind of behavior could be normal. No. And also, a lot of these employees are also, I mean, basically all of them have said they were shocked by the video, the disturbance video of Cassie. Another employee told the Daily Beast he was fired after making eye contact with Combs, very similar to what J-Lo's been alleged. I wonder if that is something she learned from Diddy. Combs visibly expressed, so basically made eye contact, visibly expressing disappointment when the mogul showed up hours late for a meeting. From the employee's perspective, Combs took the look that I gave him personally. There was erratic behavior. There was definitely what I would consider mental abuse with how he spoke to us as employees, the person added. That he often worked from 7 to 11 p.m., 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. because of Combs' demands and the culture of fear the rapper had created in the workplace. There was a lot of profanity, kind of aggressive, in-your-face, physically in-your-face kind of stuff, the employee said. It was like working a Game of Thrones with everyone walking on eggshells and some colleagues throwing each other under the bus to stay in Combs' good graces. Another former employee said at a time, when people ask me about it, I always tell them it was the worst experience I ever had in my life. In one meeting, this employee recalled a designer informed Combs that his team was inundated with work and couldn't complete a specific project. Combs, then known as Puffy, stopped in the middle of my presentation, told him he wasn't inundated with S, and said if he said it one more effing time and walked up to his face, lip to lip, "Say it one more time, mother effer." What's interesting, I will say, most of these Hollywood jobs are this crazy. They want you to work impossible hours. Any film set, any production job, it's sort of a culture of you don't get a personal life. Everybody must do this and do it for me. And sometimes it does pay better, but it's still, and I'm so glad I'm out of that whole experience because they really do demand that you work non-stop. They don't want you to have any personal time. And the reality is, employees work better when they do have their own personal lives and they're invested at work. When they're taken care of at work and have their own personal lives, they want those things to commingle and help each other. And most Hollywood positions do put you through the ringer like this, sadly. But this sounds like an extreme. Another employee recalled how Combs oversaw the company through fear. This is another common tactic, or at least it was. It seems to be trying to get better, although all of Hollywood's destroying itself. We'll talk about that in that later video. But this company director was so terrified of the rapper turned mogul that he'd leave the building every time Combs arrived. Turnover at the company was high. Marketing director might have lasted only 6 months. This ex-employee also echoed the toxic work culture and others described firsthand. Said they were a specific term used around the office, catching a brick, for when a staffer became the target of Combs' ire. It was as if you're walking down the street and someone randomly threw a brick at your head out of the blue. Out of the blue, if he was unhappy with something that you might not have done, but he thought you did, you caught a brick. recounting how Combs verbally attacked him until I was surrounded by security guards who rushed over while he's 6 inches from my face, screaming at me, telling me I effed up. That's why I learned what a brick is. I caught my first brick, my only brick. The employee put up with the rapper and the culture for at least some time because the opportunity he gave young black entrepreneurs, people that had vision and passion, it was super inspirational. For this former employee, though, the Cassie video also was not a shock. I was surprised by the level of violence that he had towards her in that video. I didn't see his anger going to that level. I really didn't. I wouldn't have stayed had I known what was going on. I'll tell you that much. That seems to be a common theme by most, and I do believe it. I hope so, right? You'd think that people wouldn't be covering up for this type of level, but one person said otherwise, and here's where we get to the potential cover-up implied. No proof of it yet, but another woman, although women were treated the worst in her experience, the former employee underscored that a substantial portion of the rapper's success is owed to women. I think the public persona of him, that he's around a lot of men, but a lot of women have made him money. He has a lot of power, but I don't think a lot of people understand how many women work for him. This former employee specifically referenced Combs executives, Dia Sims, Erica Q, and Erin Harris as examples of powerful women who collectively have been crucial to his growth. Sims was formerly his assistant. She became president of Combs Enterprises along with Q, former Sean John creative director, Harris, former SVP of Combs Enterprises. The three executives now hold three prestigious roles outside of Combs' sphere of influence. I can't say that these women are pushovers. They are effing brilliant, if you ask me. But I would hope that power didn't come at the cost of them turning a blind eye to other people's sufferings. Sims, Q, and Harris did not respond to comment. Now, this is a good point. If you were that close to Diddy, you've raised through the ranks, and now this whole thing's coming to head, you got to comment, or we're only going to assume you were complicit in it, right? Because it's like, why wouldn't you speak against this? Yes, he helped you get your job, or, why wouldn't you defend it? Or why wouldn't you? There's also the mid ground where you're like, listen, Sean was very good to me. I never saw that kind of behavior. I'm still grateful to him for what he helped me, and I learned a lot from him. But the thing I saw in that video was despicable, and I can't stand for it. And if more of that has happened, well, I can't support him. That's the way you do it, where you show your support for the person you knew, but shock and disgust for what has now been revealed. And I'm just shocked that more and more people who worked for him haven't come forward to play that card. And I imagine some will start doing that when they have to, but now's the time. And I implore any employee who worked for Diddy, reach out to me. You can hit me up on Instagram, on Twitter DMs. You can email us at popcornplanet@gmail.com, popcornplanet@gmail.com. Hit us up. We want to hear from you. What's going on? Why so much silence from so many people? It's odd. And what do you think? Do you think those three women and anybody else in higher up positions at Sean's companies must have known something, must have seen a Viatel? Or do you agree with some of these other thoughts that, well, I didn't know as to the extent of it? Now, the other interesting thing about this piece, they do mention that not everyone had such poor experiences. Even those with positive things to say could acknowledge that he could be intimidating and scary and mean, or were aware of rumors about his behavior, but they still spoke highly of the experience. One person who worked closely with Sean Diddy, it was provided to Daily Beast by Combs representatives in lieu of a statement, said the above horror stories were simply not the experience that I had. Despite his net positive time, this former employee asked to remain anonymous because no matter what side of the argument I'm on, there's no benefit for me, and it would be very detrimental to my personal life and career if I'm identified. But interesting that Combs submitted this person to speak on the positive experiences and wouldn't put their name on it, and didn't speak that highly, just said, I didn't experience it. Like I said, that to me is the most safest comment you can be. I don't think he was exceptionally crazy. It was an intense work. The hours were not normal, but I spent so much time there at Sean John, I never heard any of this stuff. He added, adding, he'd never seen Combs talk down or be aggressive with an employee. He could be intimidating and scary and mean, but there was always this underlying professionalism to him. You felt that he was pushing you to get the absolute best, last little bit out of you. Another former employee of one of Combs' companies who asked to remain anonymous said the rapper treated her well as well. He lives up to everything, referring to his standards and success as a businessman. However, she added, you learn to understand what you were dealing with. Before she took the job, she was warned of his unconventional ways of work, but ended up liking him. We had to learn how to get along. Insider did say that the workplace was full of rumors, that his relationship was volatile with Cassie. After seeing the hotel video, she said, "I'd wash my hands of the mogul. I'm done. I didn't even listen to the apology. It's not worth my time." And then finally, one of Sean's employees spoke about how disgusted they were by the video. "That video disgusted me as both a woman, as someone who used to take pride in working at Sean John. I am shocked because he always claimed to be a God-fearing person, but there is no God in doing to that woman you claim to love." Well said. That's where we all stand, and I think that's where everything has come to a head. So it's an interesting piece. It's not as damning as I thought. There's definitely some shocking stuff that I believe, honestly. But a lot of people still trying to play coy, like, I didn't know. I didn't know the extent of it. Not surprised, but I didn't know the extent of it. And what do you think of these higher level Sean John employees? Should they be speaking up? What do you want to hear? Want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Before you get there, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell so you can become part of our notification squad. If you hit all, you'll get notifications. And when you do, click them. Click the like, the thumbs up, leave your comments, tell me what you think, and stay tuned. We got so much more coming here on Popcorn Planet.